Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady and Luke Payton. In this video, we are going to be talking about the All-Ireland quarter-final, which just happened between Kerry and Mayo. Luke, probably a bit of a letdown this game. Kerry-1-18, Mayo 13 points. I mean, going into it, Mayo were being written off by a lot of people, like all over the media. I mean, all the pundits were all going for a very comprehensive Kerry victory. But, there's a bit of you that's thinking, Mayo or Mayo, they're always capable of pulling out a performance out of nowhere. And 4 periods in this game, they stayed really close to Kerry. I mean, at halftime, they were neck and neck. Third quarter, Kerry pulled away. And 118 to 13 points at the end. Bit of a letdown for me. What did you make of it?
Oh yeah, look, I was probably in the same kind of thing that I was hoping for a bit of a game, and that I thought that like Mayo usually are able to lift themselves for Kerry. Like obviously all the logic and all the form and everything we've seen so far this year probably would have suggested the scoreline that we got in the end. But there's always this kind of romantic idea about Mayo that they're going to be able to lift their game for the big teams, and look, they just weren't able to this time. They looked like they kind of hit a wall on 15 minutes as well. It was shots started dropping short. They were losing the ball in tackles and getting turned over the whole time, and they just looked out on their feet from that point onwards. And look, the game completely petered out from there. Kerry looked far fitter, far kind of better trained, and they just I suppose Kerry ultimately just kind of kept them at arm's length, I suppose, the whole way through, kind of kept a point or two up. And then when it got to that stage, just kicked on. And they just took over. And the game just kind of eased down over the line, really. And it was a bit of a kind of a lull after the excitement that we had earlier in the Armagh game.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. The other thing as well is I wasn't the slightest bit impressed with Kerry, actually. I thought Kerry looked way off the pace of previous games that they've looked. I thought the league final, they were unbelievable. I don't think they were anywhere near their league final performance standards. I thought David Moran getting back in and getting a full game under his belt, I think that's good news for Kerry. Players like Paul Murphy as well coming back in. Obviously, he didn't start the game, but him getting minutes under his belt, David Clifford as well. I mean, bit of a worry early on when he took that misstep on the ball. Like, was he going to be injured? But what a class goal that was. And that probably was the most important score of the game, because Kerry always had that goal up on Mayo. They always had that, extra 3 points on Mayo, that whenever Mayo were trying to close the gap, they could just never quite get level or get ahead into the second half. And they went 18 minutes without scoring a point in the second half. So for you, that goal for you, the key score, and were you impressed with Kerry at all in this game?
Yeah, look, obviously it was a big moment, really, and it was kind of in the first half they were going kind of score for score a little bit as well. So when the goal went in, like obviously, look, makes a huge impact as well. I think in a weird way, I thought Clifford looked kind of really didn't look comfortable throughout the entire game at all, and look, they took him off at the end and stuff, but I think he'll be doing well to be fully fit for Dublin in 2 weeks. So just based on looking at him, he looked in severe discomfort throughout the entire game. Look, he was still able to kick the goal and stuff, but he didn't score from play other than that, so he didn't have the same kind of impact that he would have had if he wasn't carrying knocks as well. So that's a bit of a worry for them as well. Now, I get what you mean as well about the not being overly impressed by him, because like for large parts of it, like in the first half particularly, you wouldn't be blown away by what you're watching really, and it wasn't really kind of something, and there was nothing really standing out about Kerry that you're saying that was really good about their play. But I do think that look, their class showed, and as the second half went on, and that kind of physical fitness and athleticism that they have, it just, like, if it's that far ahead of Mayo, then look, they're probably a good bit ahead of most teams. And look, I think Dublin are probably the only team that can match them athletically and physically as well. So I do think that, like, albeit they weren't playing like scintillate and stuff at all times, they did exactly what they had to do. And when the game was there to be won, they were able to lift it a few levels, and they had a spell probably for about 5 or 10 minutes when they were fairly devastating, kicking score after score. So I would be impressed by that, and I do think that look, when they needed to turn it on, they did turn it on, and and look, they got through what could have been a potentially difficult all day with relative ease. And look, they'll be hoping to get to like Jack Barry back. They'll be hoping Clifford gets back fully fit as well. So Yeah, no, I think from a Kerry perspective, it's job done, and they can beat themselves up a little bit about the performance as well if they want, but I wouldn't be too worried about it, I don't think.
Yeah, I think actually I'm less confident about Kerry's chances than I was before. I think Dublin are actually flying in a better frame of mind. I think going into this game, they beat Cork out the gate by 11 points, minus Conor Callaghan, minus James McCarthy. Yes, Mayo are a harder challenge than Cork are. But just seeing the amount of chances that Mayo were creating, I mean, that goal chance for Kevin McLaughlin in the first half, Owen McLaughlin as well had multiple chances where there was one in the second half where he hand passed the ball over three of his players. They just didn't have the right shooters. And the amount of shots that they took, that the second whoever hit the ball, you knew immediately it was going wide or dropping short. And Kerry on the other side, Paul Gainey, Killian Spillane, Sean O'Shea, they weren't missing. The radar was fully working, especially Paul Gainey. He really impressed me. He looks on top form.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it was kind of when he had the goal chance the first half that you're so used to kind of him putting them away that it was a surprise. But then look, after that, I think he kicked everything he took on after that. He notched over. So look, they like, and I do think look, Kerry have scope to improve because I think that was the most quiet I've seen Paddy Clifford play. Like I think he didn't really have any sort of impact on the game at all. Darren Moynihan was very quiet too, and yeah, sure. Even David Moran as well coming back in. Like a lot of his kick passing was very erratic and very loose as well. He was kind of kicking. It was either over kicking it or under kicking it and everything as well. And there was showing those signs of rust a bit, but. Yeah, no, look, they've shown that there's scope for improvement as well there. But I do think, look, if they're going to beat Dublin, they'd want David Clifford to be fully fit. I think you're looking at Dublin at the moment where the full back line is probably the area to get at in Dublin right now with the injuries that Dublin have and everything too. And look, if you have a fully fit David Clifford in there as well, you're going to cause all sorts of bother. And then, look, then even the likes of Gainey can peel off and kicking scores as well. So, look, I think they'll be wrapping him up in ice for the next 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Do you think this is the end of the James Horan second coming with Mayo? There's been a lot of talk about potentially he could step away after this.
Well, it's very hard to make predictions about Mayo and their management, and there's enough said about how they select their managers and everything up there and stuff. So, and who's really running Mayo. So look, it'd be impossible nearly to speculate on what's going to happen up there. I wouldn't have a clue, but it is hard to know. I think he could be well liked. It's hard to know again because, like, if you look at that team that was out there today, they don't have a marquee forward. Like, there's coming back in, like Tommy Conroy will come back in, might have the potential to become that. Ryan O'Donoghue probably has the potential to be that as well. So maybe in a way, like they were going into today, like with not a full hand anyway as well. So like I wouldn't be too critical of Horan, and I don't think like if he were to step away, I wouldn't be shocked. But if he was to hang on next year, I wouldn't be. If I was a Mayo fan, I wouldn't be having any complaints about it too, though.
Yeah, no, I think maybe one more year for Horan, but the question is, where's his head at with it? Of course, he walked away in his first era after the 2014 defeat to Kerry in the semi-final. Of course, similar here, they gone out to Kerry in the quarter-final, and there wasn't really a prospect of Mayo winning the All-Ireland this year. So it's difficult to know where they go from here. Obviously, they're going to have to rebuild players like Aidan O'Shea, Lee Keegan, Kevin McLaughlin that have been around for so long that, maybe is it time now to move towards, like, if you got the under-20s there who obviously beat Kerry in the under-20s there earlier today. So look, there is talent coming through. Horan is a good man for getting a load of young lads into the side, getting debuts into them. I mean, Tommy Conroy and Ryan O'Donoghue are brilliant examples of that and becoming, marquee senior footballers. But it'd be fascinating to see how it plays out. That is the match review here, guys, on Play on GAA. It finished Kerry-1-18, Mayo 13 points. Kerry move on to a semi-final meeting with Dublin. The last two times that these sides played in All-Ireland semi-finals, they were epic, to say the least. 2016 and 2013, absolute epic games, both of them. Hopefully we get a repeat of that dosage once again. That's the match review, guys, here on Play on GAA. Until the next one, take care.